Hello, hello, and welcome to today's watercolor class. We are going to be talking about scumbling, which is so much fun. So I feel like this is one of those ones that isn't often referred to when I'm going to just adjust this a little bit. When we're learning the basics of watercolor. And I don't know why, because it's just so fun. Okay, there we go. That's much better. So scumbling is using water. I can't even like verbally describe it. I'm gonna have to just show you. But a couple of housekeeping things. Fall for Watercolor Challenge is happening. There are a couple ways to participate. You can do the daily paintings and tag me at Splatter and Bloom on Instagram or TikTok. You can attend these lives or the replay. So if you're watching the replay, hello. Just make sure you leave a comment in the video below so that I can count your attendance. And all of these go into a drawing. My assistant is keeping track of everyone who has posted. You need to be a part of the challenge officially, though, and that link is in the description below. Okay, so let's get into it. This is going to be a little bit of a quick one today because we are without our sweet little nanny, so I'm going to have to scoot pretty fast. But scumbling is a very interesting technique because we are going to be using the water and the paper and the brushes and the paints in a very unique way. So what it is, it kind of has, like, if you think of the word scumble, it kind of sounds like a big old mess, right? A jumble, I don't know, la la la. So what it is I'm going to just use some color, but you could actually just go in with water. But we're just going to kind of like make some random little marks like this. Okay, and I'm using color so that you can see it. But if you just used water, this would be really cool. So I'm going to use a really strong color so you can see what happens once we add in. And I'm adding this some to where the water is, but some not. So we're having this little wet in wet action, but ever so sporadically. And it is happening. You want the movements to be kind of random. You want the water placement to really just, you don't want to be dotting right over the water. The point of this is to be a little messy, be a little free, and let that wet in wet happen. So let me show you, now that I've shown you what it looks like with a color, let me show you what it looks like when we just use water, okay? So I'm just dabbing. You can see it a little bit. You can see the reflection. Let me go see so I can see what your comments are. Tracy loves painting birds thanks to YouTube. Love it. We are going to be doing a bird, I believe, next week. So stay tuned. Okay, so you can see kind of where the scumbling is happening. Let's add some of that quinacridone lake from Mayberry Blue. You know, we love to see it, and we're adding it some. So some is wet on dry, some is wet on wet. It's creating this really cool patterning, okay? And once again, it is all about the water. So depending on how dry or how wet your little scumble marks are, is going to depend how much the water is going to spread. So you can see right here, like where that paint is flowing. Do you see where it's like really running when I move it? These parts are really, really wet. And so the water is going to be a little bit of like a speedboat here and carry that paint all the way all around. But if you go a little bit drier with your scumbling, so let's just do a little bit of a drier sesh over here. Okay, and so I'm doing a little bit of a drier scumble. And this is going to be dependent on your paper as well, how absorbent your paper is. If you're in a really like dry climate, this is going to dry a lot faster. That's something I don't think I've mentioned yet in the videos. So like if you live in Arizona or something, your paper is going to dry a lot faster than if you're like in Louisiana. Okay, so for those of you who that reference means nothing, Louisiana is very humid and Arizona is very dry. So you can see we've got a little bit more control here where it's a little bit drier. It's not as like woo, 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 woo. And here we've used a color and added another color. So I love this technique. I think it's actually really great. Tracy, you mentioned painting birds. I love to use this technique like for feathers. So like on the tummy of the hummingbirds in the spring florals kit, we do some of this to create some feathering. I love to use it for leaves, which is what we're going to use it for today. This can create like a really beautiful, like dappled sun effect. So if you're thinking of like the sun pouring through leaves in a, like in a forest, like through the leaves, this can create like a really beautiful light effect. And I would almost do it like, so here, if I was doing a light effect, this is going to be kind of an inverse. So let's say this is our ground. Okay, I might do something like this and do my, and you want to move like your brush around. You don't want your brush to be like all going, the same direction, because that would be kind of boring, right? That wouldn't really resemble nature. You can do that if that's the effect you're trying to get. But let's say this is the ground. We already kind of have that look of a little bit of the leaves pouring through, but I might add maybe some water. So this way we're doing the inverse of what we did. We're adding water to the paint, right? So this is kind of the inverse, and we're going to get some cool little bleeds in here. We can also add a little bit of yellow for warmth. Let's do that. This is Mayberry Blue's Indian yellow. And it doesn't have to stop there. We can even, like, let's say we're going to scumble with this a little bit. Okay. La, 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 la. Okay. And then let's, this isn't like, this is taking flight from our path, but VS Ty says her favorite subject to paint are mountains and fields. I love that. So now we're just adding in some pink because why not, like you can add in as many colors. I think just make sure you think about how the colors are going to mix. Like if you're doing yellow and purple, you're going to get a lot of brown. So let's do an example of that just so we can kind of see. I'm going to mix up a nice little purple here. Okay. A little purple. And we can just kind of see what happens when you're like mixing colors that maybe like all of these ones are kind of in the same neighborhood of colors. Like they're all close to each other on the color wheel. But then if you're adding in colors that are opposite, you're going to get some where you see the yellow, but as the colors start to blend, you're going to get a really interesting brown, which actually is kind of like a fun, I don't know, thought experiment, right? Like, wouldn't it be fun to create like a brown through this technique? Like, I almost think like pointillism, this would be a really fun technique to use just to paint a whole landscape, right? VS, if you make this a landscape, I would love to see it. Okay, so you see like, you can see the yellow and you can see the purple, but you're also getting this really nice brown color. And I don't hate it, but if you're trying to make like a really harmonious, lovely little thing like this, then that's not it, okay? And so you might want to have some sort of color wheel handy. You could just print one off the internet or whatever. But when they're opposite each other, so here we have some yellow and some purple, that's going to be where you get that muddy area. Whereas if we are looking in this section right here, these are the colors that are like, they're all like in the same family. So they're going to look really nice together, like yellow through red, all these. The green might get a little funky in there with the orange, but like all the cool colors are going to look really nice together. Okay. This can also be really fun for like fur, like the chest part of like a really fluffy dog. This is a really great way to kind of show some light, show some dark, and not have it just be like brown, right? Like how fun would this be to capture the light? So this is such a fun technique. So let's talk about trees. Okay, so we are going to paint our tree trunk, and then we're going to create some leaves around it using this technique. So you can see I'm mixing up some of this like Indian red. It's kind of like a dark red, and then I'm bringing over just like a little bit of this kind of purpley color to get a nice warm or cooler kind of brown situation. I might even bring over a little yellow just to warm it up. My palette is not wet. I'm using water from my cup because I have a lot of paint on my palette, and I don't really, if I were to spray it, it would all be splendid, blending together. So for our tree, if you want to watch and then you can paint too, I'm just going to kind of give the illusion of a trunk. We're not doing something really like, detailed here. I'm using a pretty dry brush for the outlines, and then I'm filling in with a little bit of wetness here. Okay, I feel good about that. Let's kind of I feel like the trunk needs to be a little bit thicker. And then we'll give it some branches, but don't paint the whole branch, okay? We've got leaves on this tree. So I'm kind of thinking like, where's the light, or where are the leaves like breaking through, where are there holes in the leaves so that I'm seeing the branches. Okay, so just like, the essence of a tree here. Okay, now to the fun part. Okay, and this will, because this is still wet, it'll kind of scumble in together with it, but I'm going to make some fall leaves. If you are feeling, I don't know, maybe you're in New Zealand and you are in spring mode, go for it. So you can kind of think about where you're using your brush, and you can make the leaves. These can be, you can kind of think of which way the leaves are. So I'm using the tip of my brush and kind of just kissing down where they might meet on the tree. I want to keep this somewhat wet, and then I'm just kind of doing whatever, because we don't want it to dry right away. So it doesn't have to be totally without reason. I think just thinking about how the shape of the tree works is helpful, to remind you to like move your brush around, right? I'm getting kind of messy here because like whatever, it's fun. Okay, now I'm gonna grab some orange. Okay, get that in there. And just get crazy. This is like the most fun one. You can even do some down here because like there's probably like a little leaf pile, I feel like the coffee's hit my hand hard. So if you're having a wobbly hand day, Scumbling is a great, I feel like with how much my hand has been shaking in the mornings, maybe I have a problem. No, it's fine. I'm just so excited to paint. All right, so here, I feel like this is going off the page, like this is a big tree and I don't have enough room, but you make it whatever shape you want. I'm going to just throw some pink in here because like, I don't know, I'm just feeling it. And just have fun. Maybe let's do like a little bit of like brown. I don't know. Those ones are kind of like decaying. I'm kind of having some like fall from the tree, Maybe a little bit of this. And now I think I'm going to go, well, let's do a little yellow just because this is a very colorful tree, It's kind of giving me like, I don't know, Lisa Frank, #autumn vibes, or whatever. And I like to play around with how wet or how dry the paint that I'm putting on. So like this yellow I'm doing kind of dry, but I love that because then it really makes a dramatic effect. out and about. So let's just add like some water. And I'm going to add a little bit more brown to my trunk here, give it a little bit more definition. Just, you know, I can't help myself. Just give it another layer. Give it another layer, baby. Okay, so there's my tree. There's another way that we can do this, and we do have time, so we're going to do it really fast. You could also just throw some water in there just for fun. Get some cool, like, little blooms and bleeds, okay? Lovely. We're just going to town. Another way that you can do this is get a little spray bottle and make sure it's not like on the spray. It's like on the blah spray, which is the official spraying term, obviously. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of spritz this from far away. Oop. It's a little empty, so let's see. Here, I'm going to just put it upright so I can actually get the spritzer. Okay, so here, now that I've spritzed it, can you kind of see it's a little bit really wet right there, but you know, you can kind of see whatever. So let's do some scumbling. I just feel like Pooh Bear would maybe do some scumbling, you know, just kind of like wandering along, scumbling in the neighborhood. Okay, it looks like the spray kind of hit a little bit closer to here. So let's, whoop. You can kind of see. Okay, I don't think I did a very good job of spraying. But it allows you to get that kind of randomization, which sometimes can be hard if, you know, trying to let loose. Sometimes doing a scumble with your sprayer can be, oh my gosh, come on. So you can do it before or after you add the water. And I think when you do the sprayer, it can be really fun to add like paint that's a little bit drier because you can see it kind of tendriling out. Isn't that fun? So that's another way you can do it. This can make really fun like wildflowers in a field. I would love to hear if you guys have any other applications for this. I think also too, when you use the sprayer, it creates this like really interesting kind of veiny, like almost like the branch, like when I imagine like neurons like firing, it just creates this really cool, or maybe like eyeballs. Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be cool? Like the little veins in the eyeballs. Spooky. Yeah, so that's scumbling. There's so many options, so much potential. Clearly, I love it. It's super fun. I think, I mean, even like, look, this looks like a little ocean that's like rippling in the waves, baby. So if you are, please let me know how you use this. I love to see like how you guys apply these tools. If you have any ideas in the comments, if you want to share some ideas, if it struck you as a good application for anything. I personally like to use transparent watercolors, but you can use more opaque watercolors. So here's an example. This is oxide of chromium. This one's going to be a little more opaque. I think this is still wet. So this is actually going to, oh golly, here we go. This is going to go out a little bit more. The creamier ones, the more opaque ones are going to kind of take over, and they're not going to show as much of the blending, but I think it's like a really nice effect when used purposefully. But if you want that like really murky kind of like blendy, I think your best bet is going to be more transparent watercolors. And if you look at the tubes, I think I have a video somewhere about how to read the watercolor tubes, but just you can even Google it, like your watercolor, and say, is this transparent? Okay. Oh, let's get up close. Can you see how it has this like rim of red and then the green is in there? Can you see that? Oh my God, it's so pretty. All right, enough of that. Calm down, Kate. I will never calm down. Okay, y'all, love you. Have to go. Tomorrow we are going to be painting, Ooh, we are doing loose florals tomorrow. We are doing sunflowers. So it's going to be super fun. Oh God, that's so blurry. I'm sorry. Here, right here. Focus here. Focus here. Focus, focus. I don't know. I'll fix my cameras for tomorrow. But yeah, loose florals tomorrow. See you there, baby. All right. Have a great day. Bye.